2/3 of people who stop these medications, they regain most of their weight within a single year of stopping the medications. I know this isn't the first time that you've heard me say this, but I'm gonna tell you in this video exactly why. It's not because the medications don't work. It's often because dose changes happen based on short-term weight changes rather than actual protocol signals. Additionally, your doctor probably treats the GLP-1 dosing like a bit of an escalator. You just keep going up every 4 weeks until you hit the top, which either is the max dose or where you finally are happy with the results, right? But that's why patients end up hitting larger doses, stall, and they feel terrible. So we're gonna walk through today all 5 dosing scenarios, because knowing when to change your dose is the difference between long-term success and just becoming another rebound statistic. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I lead a nationwide GLP-1 clinic, and I've lost over 100 pounds, and I've helped maintain a leaner physique using this exact approach. And now I coach thousands of patients through the exact same thing. I've seen what happens when people get dosing right, and I've seen what happens when people follow the standard escalator protocol without any strategy behind it. So before we get into the 5 scenarios, I need to show you why the standard approach fails in the first place and what it's actually costing you that your doctor probably isn't even mentioning. Okay, so here's how most doctors are approaching their tirzepatide dosing. And this really just all GLP-1 dosing. So month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 3. We're gonna say this is months. And then we're gonna call this 15 because tirzepatide is the most common. So this is 0. So this is 7.5. So we got 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5. Okay, so at the beginning of the journey, right? Month number 0, you're starting off at 2.5 milligrams. 4 weeks pass, let's be honest. You were at 5 milligrams. 4 more weeks pass, you're at 7.5. 4 more weeks pass, month number 3, you're on 10 milligrams. Then 12.5. Then before you know it, you're on the max dose, not even a halfway year into the medication. And the crazier part, sometimes people skip the 7.5 and the 12.5. And so by month number 3, they're on the max dose. I've seen this. I've seen doctors even start people on a larger dose of tirzepatide just because they were on a large dose of semaglutide. And it's a whole nother receptor being introduced. So it just doesn't make sense, and it introduces more variability that can cause a whole multitude of extra side effects that aren't necessary. You have to work with your body and be patient with the dosing process. You see, this protocol exists because that's how the clinical trials were designed. They escalated to a fixed maintenance dose within a couple months to show maximum weight loss and safety data in a study window. But those trials weren't designed for your long-term success. They were designed to get FDA approval. And here's where the escalator actually costs you. When you keep pushing those higher doses without building a metabolic foundation, without dialing in your protein, without doing resistance training properly, without fixing your hydration and electrolytes, your stress and your sleep, you're not just losing weight, you're losing precious muscle. This is a pound of muscle, this is a pound of fat. Look at the difference. And remember, muscle is the major engine that burns calories. So you hit those high doses, you've lost muscle, your metabolism slows down, and now you have nowhere to go. So when you try to reduce or stop, your hunger often comes roaring back. And if you've lost muscle along the way, your metabolic engine is a lot weaker than before you started. That's not a medication failure, that's a timing failure. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about 5 different important components to this. 5 different components of when to possibly make a decision about changing your dose. So the question isn't, when should I go up? The question is, which of these 5 scenarios are you actually in right now? Because each one has a different answer. And getting it wrong is exactly why so many people regain weight after stopping. So let's start with the scenario that most people miss, the one where the right move is to do absolutely nothing. Okay, so scenario number 1, this is stay. Do not move. The sweet spot, the lowest effective dose. This is bliss. The lowest effective dose where your protocol is actually working. And the goal is to stay here as long as you possibly can. Now, if you're not sure whether you're actually in the sweet spot or you just think that you are, this is exactly why we offer free discovery calls where our patient educators can look at your specific situation, help you figure out which scenario you're really in. You guys can text number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to explore that. But first, let me show you how to know for sure. So how do you know if you're in the sweet spot? Your food chatter is quiet. It's not gone, but it's manageable. You're hitting your protein targets without white knuckling through every meal. The scale is trending in the right direction, or it's stable if you're in maintenance. Your energy is good, side effects have calmed down, and you're making healthy choices without feeling like every decision is a battle. If that sounds like you, don't touch anything. I see patients regularly who want to increase their dose just because weight loss has slowed down for a couple weeks. That's not necessarily a dose problem. That's likely potentially a plateau problem, and a plateau doesn't automatically mean you need more medication. Before you even think about changing your dose, check the basics. Are you actually hitting your protein targets? Not guessing, but you're tracking. How's your sleep? What's your stress level? Are you drinking enough water and getting your electrolytes? Resistance training, getting your butt to the gym and kicking some ass. These things matter more than you probably have any idea. And in our clinic, we generally look for at least 3 consecutive weeks of no movement in the weight with no changes in the waist, with the basics truly dialed in before we call it an actual plateau and start the whole debugging process. 1 bad week or 2 is not a plateau. 2 weeks of fluctuation is not a plateau, but after 3, okay, now we can talk. The principle here is simple. The lowest effective dose, if it's working, protect it, because every time you go up, you're using ammunition that you might not even need, and then there's potential collateral damage. Okay, so scenario number 2 is increase. And this is the one that trips people up the most often because they increase for the wrong reasons. The main signal that we watch for when considering a dose increase is whether food chatter is genuinely back and disrupting your ability to follow the protocol. I'm not talking about a hard day. I'm talking about weeks of struggling through every meal, obsessing about food again, feeling like the medication stopped working and you can't execute the plan anymore. You know all too well what that feels like, because think about before you started the medication. You remember what that's like. You might stop thinking about it because of how amazing you felt, but go back for a moment, put yourself into that situation and remember what it felt like to have food chatter. If you start slipping closer to that, that's the time to trigger, I probably need to go up in my dose. So we're gonna say food chatter, big impact. If this distinction between plateaus and dosing is clicking for you right now, hit that subscribe button, because we put out 2 GLP-1 videos every single week, breaking down exactly this kind of nuance that most doctors never explain. Quick minute, I want to tell you guys about the Flow Academy membership. Essentially, this is my private community on Mighty Networks. You'll have access to a community coach, live coaching calls that I do, which are unsolicited. I don't have to market like my free lives. I'm just there to help you guys out as much as possible, and a ton of free resources as well to guide you through the various protocols that I talk about in these videos. So all you got to do if you're interested in joining that is just become a member to this YouTube page, and then there's a link that you can access after you become a member that'll allow you to join the community. Now back to the video. Now here's what's not a reason to increase. The scale stalled. That's not the same thing. A plateau and an underpowered dose often look different when you know what to look for. If you're plateaued but the protocol still feels manageable, you're not struggling to make good choices, you're just not seeing the scale move, that's not a medication problem. That's a signal to check your foundation. Now before you ask your doctor for a higher dose, run through this list. Protein, are you actually getting enough? Not what you think you're getting, but you're actually tracking. Sleep, are you getting quality rest or just hours in bed? Stress, is cortisol running the show? Hydration, water, electrolytes, not just water. Are you actually following the fasting windows, or have you gotten a little bit sloppy? I think of this one case. I had a patient who was eating 40 grams a day. She swore that she needed more medication. She was eating 40 grams a day. Her body was just tearing through that muscle, because you need the protein to give your body the raw material so that when you're lifting weights, it actually can protect the muscle. Okay, so here's our approach. Wait at least 1 week. Many clinicians use a 4-week titration window to see if the difficulty is just a short-term adjustment or not. Plateau definition is 3 consecutive weeks despite basics being dialed in. If after all that, the food chatter is genuinely back and disrupting the protocol, then yes, talk to your providers, your prescribers, and consider increasing the dose. But if you're thinking I stalled and I need more medication, that's escalator thinking. And now you know where that leads. So we have to remember, we're not doing the escalator. Okay, scenario 3 is decrease. And this is the one that your doctor never talks about, because in the standard protocol, the protocol only goes in one direction. I know what you're thinking. When in the world would I decrease? But your body communicates. And when that dose is too high, it tells you. The question is whether you're listening or you're just pushing through. Here's what over-suppression, overdosing looks like. Food doesn't just seem uninteresting. It can be repulsive. The thought of eating makes you nauseous. You're not just not hungry, but you're struggling to get food down. A couple bites and you're full. That's not the medication working. That's the medication working too hard. Other signals that we watch for: constant exhaustion that doesn't get better with rest, brain fog that won't lift, feeling cold all the time, complete stall on the scale despite eating very little. We call this battery saving mode. Your body is shutting down non-essential functions because it's not getting enough fuel. Some patients describe this as zombie mode. I could see why, because the tiredness, the brain fog, the constipation, the feeling cold, going through the motions but not really present. Now, before you assume that your dose is the problem, check your basics. Are you dehydrated? Low electrolytes can cause very similar symptoms: fatigue, brain fog, headaches, which is why we always rule that out first. Here's something most people don't realize. As your metabolic health improves, as you heal through the insulin resistance, through fasting and lifestyle changes, you may need less medication to get the same effect. That dose that felt right a few months ago might feel like too much right now. That's actually good news. It means the protocol is working. The healing is happening, but it also means that you might need less medication, not more. Okay, so when do you decrease? Persistent over-suppression signals that don't resolve with hydration and basics, side effects that have never really calmed down after the adjustment period, or signs that metabolic healing has made your current dose too strong. Now, if you want me to make a video breaking down exactly how we troubleshoot plateaus in our clinic, the protein audit, the sleep check, the stress assessment, all of it, and how to actually fix the plateau if it really is a true plateau, let me know in the comments if that would be helpful to you. Okay, so those first 3 scenarios are about active weight loss. But what about when you're ready to maintain? That's scenario 4, and we call that taper. This is where most people have zero guidance because the standard protocol doesn't really have an exit strategy. It only goes up. Many people feel stuck on their medication because nobody really gave them criteria for when it's actually time to potentially step down. So let me give you that criteria right now. So we don't just guess about taper readiness. We look for 3 specific signs. Sign number 1 is quieter food chatter. So decreased food chatter. Not eliminated, but more quiet. You're making healthy choices without feeling like you're fighting yourself every meal. The medication isn't doing all the work anymore. You're starting to do the work, and the medication is just backing you up. Sign number 2, you're constantly hitting your protein goals. Naturally, you're not forcing it down. So protein is it's just in, right? You're eating adequate protein because that's just how you eat now. That's a sign that your habits have actually changed. And then number 3, a solid stretch of consistent resistance training, ideally for months. And in our experience, this one matters significantly. Muscle is your metabolic engine. If you haven't built that engine, you don't have an exit strategy. That is exactly why the escalator model fails. People hit high doses with no muscle protection, and then they wonder why they can't maintain their weight loss when they try to reduce. Notice what's not on this list: hitting a goal weight. Of course, weight matters, but we need to take your metabolism into account. And in our clinic, the numbers on the scale are far from the primary readiness criteria. Body composition often matters more than scale weight. I've seen people at their goal weight and they have no business tapering because they hadn't built any sort of metabolic foundation. Now, here's where this gets interesting. Microdosing maintenance is a realistic destination for a lot of people. Complete weaning, probably not as feasible, and honestly, in a world with constant environmental and lifestyle stressors, a low microdose just takes the edge off food chatter might actually be the most effective long-term strategy for most people, especially when you take into account the anti-inflammatory benefits. So the taper process looks like this. You reduce your dose, 1 dose down, so maybe 15 to 10. You'll hold for 1 to 2 months. You assess how you feel. Yeah, you heard me right, 1 to 2 months. Reduce again if ready. You have to take a look back after that month or 2 and say, how did you do? Did I do okay? Was my weight stable? Are my clothes fitting the same? Did I feel like I was still in control most of the time? Cool, let's do it again. So eventually you do this down to you're about 2.5 milligrams of Tirzepatide or maybe 0.25 of Semaglutide. Then we don't just stop there, because as you're continuing to really dial things in, your health has improved so much. Now we're talking intermittent use, maybe every other week. Me personally, I do 5 milligrams of Tirzepatide once a month. Maybe I'll do 3-4 milligrams back to back, just kind of depends how the month goes, but you're gonna have to play around with different microdosing strategies. And yes, those doses are large, but when I look them at as an average over the month, we're still talking less than the starter dose every single week. Okay, finally, scenario 5, the reset. When do you gotta hit that reset button? This is the one that I don't see people talking about, and it's the scenario that we consider when patients have been stuck on a high dose for too long with nowhere to go. So when we consider a reset, you've been on a larger dose, say 10 milligrams, 12 or 15 of Tirzepatide, or 1.5 or higher of semaglutide for several months. You've plateaued despite the basics being dialed in, protein's good, training's consistent, sleep and stress are managed, but the medication just doesn't seem to be doing anything anymore. That's receptor desensitization. Your body's been exposed to high levels of the medication for so long that the receptors have become less responsive. It's the same reason people feel like their medication stopped working, even though they're on on or damn near the maximum dose. The medication reset protocol looks like this. You take a complete break from the medication, approximately 3 weeks. Now, let's say you're at 10, you don't want to go cold turkey, you go down to 5, and then maybe 2.5, and then 0. Boom, you're off for a month. This allows for receptor resensitization. Then you restart the initial starter dose, say 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide, or the lowest dose of whatever you're taking. So here's what we typically see during that break. GI tolerance often decreases, which is why restarting at the lower dose helps minimize side effects. It's also a mental discipline test. Can you hold the protocol without the medication doing the heavy lifting? This is where your metabolic foundation matters. If you've been doing the protein, the training, the fasting, you can handle this. If you've skipped all of that and relied purely on the medication, this break is going to be rough. And guess what? You can always stop the reset in the middle of it if it gets too hard. The whole point is to remove your fear, jump into the pool. It's icy cold, baby. It's icy cold, but you need to see how long you can tolerate it and then hop out. Because the mental benefit of testing yourself, seeing what you can handle and going back to the work, I don't expect you to be there yet. That's the whole point. It's called a reset. We're not at the point where you can taper down. We're at the point where we need to get the medication to work again. And so we do it through a challenge that provides benefit mentally as well, not just physically, long-term, because you strengthen up and you toughen up a little bit mentally. And remember, folks, all of our long-term weight maintenance research all comes down to mental mindset strategies. This is a mindset strategy 101 with GLP-1 medications. I can't think of any better way to challenge yourself on the GLP-1s and increase that discipline. So now you know the 5 scenarios. Stay when you're in the sweet spot, increase only when food chatter is genuinely back and disrupting the protocol, decrease when your body is telling you the dose is too high, taper when you've hit all 3 readiness signs and you're at your goal, and reset when you've been stuck on a high dose for too long and the medication has stopped working. I hope you actually want to learn this stuff because I'm sure this is really important to you. So let's see how well you're actually comprehending. Go ahead and submit your answers in the quiz below. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. Every one of these scenarios requires you to accurately assess your own signals, and that's genuinely hard to do objectively. Plateau and underpowered doses can feel similar from the inside. Over-suppression gets normalized as the medication is working. Taper readiness is hard to evaluate when you're emotionally attached to seeing the scale move. And the cost of guessing wrong is real. Increase when you should have stayed, and now you're burning through doses that you'll need later. Losing muscle, building dependency, stay when you should decrease. You're miserable, undereating, tanking your metabolism. Stop when you're not actually ready and you become another rebound statistic. This is what I do every single day. Help patients figure out which scenario they're actually in, not the way they think they're in. Because the right answer depends on what's happening in your body with your protocol at this moment. Now, if you're confused about whether you should change your dose and in which direction, this is why we offer free discovery calls, where you can talk to one of our patient educators. They're going to learn about your history, what you've tried so far, and what your long-term goals actually are. You'll get a feel for what it's like to work with me, our coaches, and our medical practitioners who handle the prescriptions. And then we're going to go over programs and pricing so that you can actually see what long-term success could actually look like for you. You can text the number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to book that free call. As you probably already know, food is such an important part of your journey. So if you haven't already seen this video right here, this is where I cover the foods that you think are healthy, that your nutritionist is probably telling you to eat, but are wrecking your results. So check out that video right there, guys, and we'll see you later.